this class, you're with your color group, your favorite people. People will be your best
Go
friends.
blue, go blue.
In 4 days. Before we actually do the class, I want to make sure that you know the importance of your handbook, the LTC binder. Please have it with you all the times for all the classes. All the information is there. It is copyrightable, it's even a word. You can make copies of anything on there. When you go to certain classes, you'll see there are worksheets and things that delegates have taken to their high schools and middle schools and things to help them be a little more effective as a student council or as an NHS or an AHS or whatever their organizations to which they belong. At the end of every class, their evaluations, which are extremely important to us because we do read them. The classes this year have changed again. Every year our classes change. We have classes that have fallen by the wayside, we have classes that are new, and that's just because of all the feedback and information we get from you because we want this to be a dynamic program. And obviously it is because this is our 61st year.
Wow.
That's how my grandma is.
This is a class about public speaking. And there's a quote about someone delivering a eulogy at their friend's funeral. And often people say, I'd rather be in the coffin than delivering the eulogy. Because a lot of people have fears of public speaking. But hopefully, whatever fears you have, whatever ineffectivenesses you feel you have will be addressed and you'll be able to move forward with being a better speaker. So I want you to look at this video and see what, can't hear it. Oh, because I'm on speaker. Sorry. Stop it. That, I'm wondering too, some of it was soft before, wasn't it?
I think you can turn the volume up on the board.
Yeah, I think you can too. We don't have this kind of smart boards. Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily Johnson. I'm going to be talking about the different areas of the marketing industry. So the first area that I want to talk about is the direct marketer, which is like a position usually in companies such as Sony or Nike. For example, they'll have a product manager who wants to create a concept of the product that they're trying to sell. Usually, however, the product manager won't be able to create the concept completely by themselves, so they usually have to outsource to an advertising agency. And then the advertising agency comes up with the actual concept for the advertisement, to be put on TV and like a commercial or something like that. For example, companies like advertising agencies are usually large companies in big cities like New York City or Chicago or Los Angeles or something like that. So then after the advertising agency, there's the media, and media selling companies usually sell opportunities for different advertisements on different forms of media. So for example, if you want to have a commercial on TV, the media selling company would come to you and offer you the different numbers representing how many people view certain channels at certain times of day, and you would use those numbers to decide which time of day is best for your company to purchase on which channel. Or they might also sell you different opportunities on like websites to run an online advertisement, or they might sell space in a newspaper or magazine. So now I'm going to talk about the different fields and careers within these different areas of the marketing industry. First of all, everybody usually thinks about advertising when they think about marketing, so
I thought Lou and I cut that off at 1:35, and that was almost 2 minutes. That was only 2 minutes.
Let's see, that's 20.
Like 3 hours.
Okay, so reactions, please.
Right.
Hated it.
Hated it,
Couldn't understand her.
couldn't understand her.
Talking about.
What was she talking about?
Patient was, I didn't know patient, person was playing with her
Like
hair.
hair,
There was 14, at least 14 ums out here.
Alright, so now you already know
Slanging and-
what it means to be effective. You're telling me that that was not effective because, what was she talking about? Which, if you're gonna get up and speak to someone, you definitely want the audience or to whomever you're speaking to know what you're talking about. Playing with the hair was very distracting. After a while, you start counting them, don't you?
She was quiet,
Quiet.
looking at her notes a lot. She like wasn't looking up at the audience.
She wasn't
a lot.
passionate about what she was
She
talking
was
about.
using her glass.
Like she had no passion.
So,
Well, do you have passion?
You all
about
just-
marketing?
you all just identified the goals in this class. We want people to know what we're talking about. We want them to be passionate. We want them to not do things that are distracting. You have to be careful of the ums and ahs. You have to be careful where you're looking. So those are swaying. Excellent. Good job. So here's another one to you. This is from a TED Talk.
Okay, now I don't want to alarm anybody in this room, but it's just come to my attention that the person to your right is a liar. Also, the person to your left is a liar. Also, the person sitting in your very seats is a liar. We're all liars. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you what the research says about why we're all liars, how you can become a lie spotter, and why you might want to go the extra mile and go from lie spotting to truth seeking, and ultimately to trust building. Now, speaking of trust, ever since I wrote this book, Lie Spotting, no one wants to meet me in person anymore. No. We'll email you. I can't even get a coffee date at Starbucks. My husband's like, honey, deception. Maybe you could have focused on cooking. I'm not French cooking. So before we get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clarify my goal for you, which is not to teach a game of gotcha. Lie spotters aren't those nitpicky kids, those kids in the back of the room that are shouting, gotcha, gotcha. Your eyebrow twitched. You flared your nostril. I watched that TV show, Lie to Me. I know you're lying. No. Lie spotters are armed with scientific knowledge of how to spot deception. They use it to get to the truth. And they do what mature leaders do every day. They have difficult conversations with difficult people, sometimes during very difficult times. And they start up that path by accepting a core proposition. And that proposition is the following: lying is a cooperative act. Think about it. A lie has no power whatsoever by its mere utterance. Its power emerges when someone else agrees to believe the lie. So I know it may sound like tough love, but look, if at some point you got lied to, it's because you agreed to get lied to. Truth number one about lying. Lying's a cooperative act. Now, not all lies are harmful. Sometimes we're willing participants in deception for the sake of social dignity, maybe to keep a secret that should be kept secret. We say, nice song. Honey, you don't look fat in that, no. Or we say, favorite of the digerati. You know, I just fished that email out of my spam folder. I'm so sorry. But there are times when we are unwilling participants in deception, and that can have dramatic costs for us. Last year saw $997 billion in corporate fraud alone in the United States. That's an eyelash under $1 trillion. That's 7% of revenues. Deception can cost billions. Think Enron, Madoff, the mortgage crisis, or in the case of double agents and traitors like Robert Hansen or Aldrich Ames, lies can betray our country. They can compromise our security. They can undermine democracy. They can cause the deaths of those that defend us.
Okay. What'd you think of? Get her last name here, right.
Very engaging. It made me want to listen.
She was very knowledgeable on the subject she was speaking about.
Total confidence in what she was saying.
Full confidence. Good buy that book.
Good use of repetition. She would repeat important points she made more than once.
She clearly stated her goals in the beginning.
I just realized she didn't have a podium in front of her, but I was never aware of her hands being, or legs or
She
emotion being
wasn't
weird.
distracting.
Yeah, I was never distracted, but now I realize she had nothing to hide behind.
She had was that little mic.
No or very few likes or ums. I didn't hear any.
And she's a professional speaker, obviously. If you've ever watched any of the TED Talks, you can see they're all really excellent. And that's her book, which she's talking about, so she would have a lot of background. It just goes to show you when you go to speak about something, you have to be, what you all said, knowledgeable about it. Well, hopefully we're gonna get to her level of expertise. The objective of this class, help you become more comfortable with public speaking and to provide opportunities so you can speak to one another. The first thing that we want to talk about though is if you're going to speak about something, you have to think about, jot down some notes, have an idea. You're not just going to come here and wing it, because it doesn't work that well, and that's when you hear a lot of ums and ahs and here playing. So, when do you think you'll use this public speaking as a life skill? Either in your student days now or in your adult life? Michaela?
When you're running for office at student
Excellent.
council?
How many of you have been to the January convention and seen the speeches and listened to the speeches? Very impressive, and you can probably predict which candidate's going to win based on their speech, and we tell them it is the speech. Doesn't matter how many people you know in that audience, it's your speech. Any place else you might think about importance?
Like a job interview.
Excellent. Good idea. Anything else where you might have to speak?
I mean, you know, with your team, if you're a team captain or, you know, go into the army, you know, being soldiers and stuff.
As even just a teammate, as even just not necessarily a leader, sometimes you have to rally your team.
It's more for like a high school or middle school kid. Even just talking to your teacher or your advisor, even if it's not even about school, like if you need help with something, being able to speak to them.
I might have to present something to your principal even. And why is it important? We just said important a couple times. Why is it important to communicate with the audience effectively?
So you have goals. So you know that when you talk to somebody that you have a consequence or something's going to come out of that talk, and not just linger on until some later time.
Until they tone out.
Right.
Yeah, if you want someone to listen, you have to communicate effectively.
It's so true. So true. That leads us to the next class, but we're not there yet. So to make your speech effective, as Craig just shared, you've got to be organized, it's got to be clear, you've got to have some meaning to it, and think about your audience. What do you think we mean by thinking about your audience? What are some points that you might want to remember when you're thinking about your audience? We should go back. Is it important to think about your audience? Go ahead, Michelle.
I would say the language. So you want to make sure that if you're using words that your audience may not know, that you explain them while speaking to them.
Exactly. I was a math teacher before I was a supervisor. I could tell when the words I was using were going over their heads. And you have to do the same thing when you deliver or speak to someone. Whether you're delivering a speech to a large group, small group, or just your principal, you have to make sure that the vocabulary you use is common, universal. You were going to say something?
Kind of like age group
Age group
is like a
appropriate?
huge thing, I feel.
Yep, true. Anything else about knowing your audience?
You mentioned size. It really is true. Whether or not you need to project your voice a lot more if there's a really big group of people. I know for me it was when I had all my guys in formation. I know they couldn't hear me when I was speaking to the left or to the right, but when I brought them all in, they could all hear me. So size,
Size, the audience. Anything else? It's also important to think about where your audience, from where your audience is coming. Because they may have some preconceived ideas about what you're going to say. And you should know about those because those may be things that you want to encourage or you want to discourage. So it's kind of very important to know your audience. And we in LTC talk about the B's of public speaking: be credible, be organized, and be yourself. What we want you to do right now is read these suggestions for topics. Choose one of which you're going to share with the group. decide on which one you want to share, and we're going to give you some time to jot down some notes. We don't encourage you to write the whole presentation up, but just some notes and bullet points. And then everyone is going to have the opportunity to speak. Everyone. And we're, as you come up and have the opportunity to speak, we're going to stress certain aspects of public speaking. So I'll give you some time to choose one, jot a few notes down, and then we'll see what volunteers we have. We'll talk about different aspects. So fast forward, we've all had time to do that. To present effectively, we at LTC believe there's 3 key ingredients: visual directness, vocal enthusiasm, and physical energy. This is where the class diverges. On the slide, it's going to say, talk about all 3 of them, divide your delegates into groups of 3, have them practice with each other whatever topic they chose, and then they'll come together and present. The alternative is talk about one, have them come forward and just concentrate on that one, visual directness. Then like 2 or 3 people. And then talk about vocal enthusiasm, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and then physical energy. And each time you're building. So the first time that I come up and I share why my hometown is the most important one in New Jersey, I'm only concentrating on visual directness. And then the second group that comes up, they're going to concentrate on visual directness and vocal enthusiasm. And then the third group that comes up and talks about all 3. So that's totally up to you how you feel you want to do that. But you have to just go through what each of these are. So visual directness.
Yeah, may I interject right
Sure.
here, and I apologize for doing
No,
that.
please do.
You're team teaching this with your color
Color.
groups, so if you are, well, you will be, talk to your other SCs and say, you know, which part of this would you feel comfortable teaching? How are we going to deal with this? Are we going through all of these
Right.
first and then do examples, or are we gonna break them up? Just speak to your other SCs and they'll be happy to, you know, you can collaborate
Right,
on
you
that,
decide how you-
how you're going to run the class.
Visual directness, we want to make sure that you make eye contact with the audience. Sometimes people feel eye contact is going to make them more nervous, but in reality it doesn't. Because what you just did for me, as I made eye contact with you, is you're nodding at me, you're smiling. Some people who are given a very, it wasn't just you, some people who are giving an important speech, plant, friends, family, whatever, right in the front, so they have that feedback. Connect with your listeners, don't read from your notes. You guys pointed out that first video we watched, that's what she was doing. And you have to convince your audience that you know what you're talking about and you believe in it. Again, you all pointed out about how important passion is. So we're going to concentrate on visual directness. One thing you have to be careful of, sometimes you may have a group in like a horseshoe. If you're standing here, you cannot make eye contact with those others. So you really, what you said before about knowing the place of which you're giving this. Okay, so I would like a volunteer to come up here and tell us about the topic they chose and concentrate, as you're telling us, concentrate on visual directness. So who would like to volunteer? Thank you, Greg. And as he's getting ready, I want you to turn to 112, I don't know what page it is, and you will see a checklist for visual directness things. And it's well done. What page is it? 110. 110. You'll see one column says well done, and the other column says needs to develop. So we're going to give Craig some positive feedback on how he could present using visual directness, or how his visual directness could be improved. Okay, thank you, Craig.
So I did my my presentation is on when I recently went to the All Army volleyball trial camp and made it to nationals. I'm not going to use my notes because I'm going to be visually direct with all of you, because it really, when I played volleyball, it's one of my big passions in life. So I was afforded the opportunity to not go to work for a whole entire month just to play volleyball. The Army paid me to play volleyball. It was awesome. So it was a 3-week tryout. We had 3 weeks of tryouts. We had 3 separate cuts, so it was really hard because we were developing like our team as we were going. But as you kept on doing cuts, we'd lose a little bit of us. So we went down from 36 people in the tryout application process to 19 at camp, and then from 19 to 12 when we actually went to nationals in Orlando. And so to take it down from 19 to 12, it took 7 people out of the group, and so we had to really kind of rally around each other when we went to play at nationals. And I was really, really fortunate because I got to play with people in the Army that are from all different areas. We had guys from Hawaii. We had 2 guys from Hawaii. We had 1 guy from Korea. So we are able to pull our team together from all around the Army. So it was a really, really fun thing for me, and to get the opportunity to do that was one of my Army goals ever since joining the military. So
Thank you very much. Stay there. Some feedback for Craig. What did he do well? What would you say was well done? Sue.
I loved your enthusiasm. I felt your passion.
Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
Fish.
I don't know if that was planned or not. It didn't come off as stilted, but I really like the fact that you appear to be struggling because you had the crutch.
Yeah.
And when you made the decision to get rid of your crutch, you found your confidence. And I really enjoyed seeing you find that confidence.
Thanks.
Did he make eye contact with all of you?
Yep.
Makes my soul.
Just the right amount.
Sorry,
Just
man.
the right
Make you
amount.
feel uncomfortable.
Some people are like,
He always
Stare.
makes me
feel like you're like,
Exactly.
you feel like your privacy is like invaded when they stare at you.
Don't be.
Anything you'd like to suggest? Anything? Remember,
Improvements,
we're
please.
only talking about visual directness. That's the thing. You guys know that.
Visual directness was very well, but sometimes it felt like you were zoning in on this part as opposed to we're the horseshoe.
Aside.
So you felt a little under.
I felt underappreciated.
Okay. Well, and
Neglected, a little neglected.
yeah, sometimes that's difficult too, because I didn't want to walk around too, because you gotta also be aware you have projectors and stuff too. So in comparison to when Phil was doing his, I felt like no, that was really effective for him to walk around the room. Whereas when you do have a podium in speech, I sometimes feel a little bit more trapped into this location.
But that's a good thing to think about. Again, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
The next thing we're going to talk about is, and you would have more than one delegate. The next thing that we're going to talk about that makes your presentation a little more, or your communication a little more effective, is your vocal enthusiasm. Have you ever had a teacher who talks like this? Yes, you have. I can see by your faces. It's boring, it's horrible, you don't know what they said, and you can't wait to get out of it. So you have to be careful about your voice. You have to project your voice. You're going to be loud and strong, and when you are doing that, it shows your enthusiasm. Use inflection, be believable, make it easy to listen to you, and don't be passive. And then people will listen. Again, in the beginning, Craig said, what was she talking about? If you're too passive, people are going, what the heck is she talking about? So now I'd like you to practice vocal enthusiasm. Is there someone here who would like to come up and share? But practice now, you're practicing visual directness and vocal enthusiasm. A reason why you volunteered. Deanna, thank you.
I can do all of it.
I feel very well.
Hi, my name's Tina. I'm talking about how other than student council, I like it's really fun, really do a lot of stuff and I think it's really it's different. I like that you don't know everything and I'm enthusiastic about it, as you can tell. So I feel about your
Thank you. Deanna, can you stay up here, please? Thank you. Do we have some feedback for Deanna? Remember that we're talking about visual directness and vocal enthusiasm. Sue?
Deanna, I'd like to see you use your voice in a much more enthusiastic way, especially when you're speaking about something that you care about.
Yeah, it just sounded like you didn't care about cheerleading. I really thought, like, talking to you normally, I feel like you really like cheerleading. I didn't get that.
Fish?
One of the things I would have liked a lot more about your speech would be if I could have heard you over the background noise in this particular classroom. Sometimes we have to speak a little louder because the air conditioner, the fan is running. And I've learned that holding my speech up a little bit higher is easier because I bend my head down and then I lose my voice when I bend my neck.
I like that you said what you would like a lot more.
Yes.
So it seemed like you liked my speech, even though obviously I don't talk like that.
Really?
It's beautiful.
And
You
and
can
notice
tell.
how both Sue and Fish phrase their comments.
Yeah, they were positive.
And you may have to do that in the beginning as
Yes.
the SC, because
Yes.
many times the delegates, and again, this is the first class too, they do not want to even constructively criticize
Correct.
each other, they don't. So you really sometimes have to pull out the, what could I do better, and if you phrase it like Fish and Sue did,
Feel weak.
the three of you or two of you easily do that. Anything else for Deanna?
I liked your ability to talk to the group. Like you were looking out at us. It wasn't like you were just just talking to yourself. But at least you were making eye contact.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
so.
fine.
I don't think she made any.
No,
She
you weren't.
purposely didn't make any, but see, that's,
But I just
very
know,
nice.
I had the delegate before that wants to try, but they have no idea how to do it. So, yeah, I made the effort to come up and talk, but I was
right,
fidgeting, and I said the ums, and
yeah.
I was very soft-spoken, and, you know,
And you didn't look up.
Right.
Because you were nervous.
right.
And I think that point about, that I tried to make earlier, eye contact really is so, look at you guys, see what I mean? Making eye contact really makes a big difference. It helps you, it makes you less nervous. And brings them in, it really does. Why do teachers have physical contact? Because they want kids to pay attention to them. And it works, every time.
I feel like it's easier to give a speech and you get the eye contact, because say I was talking about cheerleading and we were competitive cheerleaders, and somebody else has that interest in class, you see their like face lights up, then you feed off of them. And you're like, oh, like, so as Pam is telling us, we're all making the same faces of like, yeah, because we all get it, but she can feed off of our emotions as our eyes are getting bigger and bigger as, we know what you're talking about, Pam.
Yeah, that's nice.
That instills a
Thank you.
confidence, that instant feedback, that instant gratification,
Yes.
that what I'm saying is connecting with someone, and automatically you feel that, and that will help you. And that's what I try to stress in this part, because that's one way to get over your fear of public speaking, is like, I need one little ounce of encouragement, and that will keep me going.
And that's what this class does.
Correct.
It does give you. Thank you very much, Diana.
Exactly. That was an Academy Award.
The third piece that we're going to talk about is physical energy. And many times when you're going to have to give a speech, especially if it's to a large group or for an election, you're nervous. So we ask you to channel that nervous energy into enthusiasm and excitement for what you're doing. There's nothing wrong with hand gestures, but you're not going to want to, you don't want to do anything that's distracting. Like you wouldn't want to walk back and forth in a methodical, kind of continuous way, because people are going to start getting dizzy and also they're not going to be listening to you anymore. I mean, maintain an open body. If someone's talking to you like this, like, who would like to come up and do this problem? Who wants to come up and do the problem? I mean, it's the same words. Plan your gestures, like I just did. Don't be defensive. You know, this is kind of a, I'm not talking to you, close talking. And adjust to the facilities in which you are in, where you're going to have to, you may have to project more, you may have to move more, and incorporate a plan for the word that needs to be delivered. So now, who would like to come up and use visual directness, vocal enthusiasm, and physical energy with what they chose? Somebody new, Michaela, thank you very
Come
much.
on, John, I missed you up there.
But let me wait and back up a second. I have been so excited to come to LTC all summer. I've been counting down the days on my calendar in my room. It was like 5 days to LTC, 4 days to LTC. And then today I woke up, it said 2 more days to LTC. I was like, oh my gosh, 2 days, I can't wait. Then I got a phone call from my best friend Susie's mom, and she was like, Michaela, we'll pick you up in an hour for LTC. LTC is today. I got the days wrong. How did this happen? I couldn't believe it. I've been counting and planning, so excited all summer. And I got the days wrong. So I had 1 hour to eat breakfast, pick all my cute outfits, write down all those business cards they tell us to bring with our phone number and our name on them to pass out to our new friends. 1 hour to do all of this. But I did it. And Susie's mom picks me up, and we're on our way to LTC. And I remember, I forgot a toothbrush. So we stopped and bought a toothbrush, and now I'm here, and I'm so excited to be at LTC.
Some feedback for Michaela on visual directness, vocal enthusiasm, and physical energy.
10.
Did she grab you? Did she
Yes.
get your attention?
Yes.
Yeah, you had a great grabber. That's an important thing too, to have a grabber. People like sucked in, like when she said, the person to the right of you is lying, we're all like, what is she talking about? Any suggestions for?
I wouldn't have guessed it would have been your toothbrush though.
Yeah.
I thought it was a mini
For the game. That's always a pen.
Nice job.
Choose finger for the game. Good job.
This is the other way that you can do it. You can have them split into groups of 3, practice within their group first, and then go up and work on all of the 3. And then since this is the first class, it's really important that you talk to them, whoops, that's not there, about the evaluation. Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't mean to.
So thank you very much.
Good
And
job.
if you have questions or whatever, everything's on the website. We'll probably do a few adjustments to the thumb drive.